Hi, I am Dan Kallas, a real estate agent here in Waukesha County, and I've been helping people buy and sell homes in this area for over 25 years. Today, I am not talking about granite countertops or interest rates. I am talking about something that quietly drives demand and home values in Heartland more than almost anything else. What's happening in our local schools? I am going to stick to numbers, not opinions, and then leave you with three questions I think every Heartland homeowner and buyer should be asking right now. Let's start with enrollment. Heartland Lakeside, our main K through 8 district, had about 1,190 students around the 2019 to 2020 school year. Recent data puts that number closer to about 1,100 students. So we're looking at roughly a 7 to 8% decline in enrollment over a few years. Lake Country School, the single building K through 8 district right in Heartland, has also seen its student count slip. Over about 3 years, Lake Country has cut more than $1.6 million from its budget. After a failed operating referendum in April 2025, the board approved another $340,000 in reductions. That came from not renewing four professional staff members and eliminating two support positions, including the band teacher. Arrowhead Union High School, which serves many Heartland area students, is facing about a $1 million gap in its 2026 to 2027 budget. To close it, the board has voted not to renew multiple teaching contracts, mostly classroom roles after a few years of cutting in other areas. So that's the backdrop: modest enrollment decline, significant dollar cuts, and real people, teachers and support staff, leaving the system. Now let's look at the money side inside Heartland Lakeside. Public records list around 100 employees in the district. The average salary is in the upper $60,000 range, and the median salary is just over $60,000. Only a small number of staff members earn above $100,000 a year. The highest salary, about $162,000, is the superintendent. On top of that, Heartland Lakeside has lost close to $600,000 in federal funding over 2 years. Transportation costs are up nearly 13%. That's why you've seen big jumps in optional pay to ride bus fees. The district has also gone on record saying that state special education aid does not cover the full cost of services, so they have to pay the difference out of the general fund. All of this happens inside Wisconsin's school funding rules. The state sets per pupil revenue limits that cap how much money a district can receive from state aid plus local property taxes, regardless of what local voters might prefer. Those caps haven't always kept up with real world inflation in things like benefits, transportation, and special education. Given those facts, here are three questions I think are worth asking. Question one: are the cuts proportional to the enrollment drop? If Heartland Lakeside is down roughly 7 to 8% in students and Lake Country has cut over $1.6 million from its budget plus another $340,000 in staff this year, are the staffing cuts simply matching the student decline or going beyond that? To really answer that, we would need to see how many students we've lost by grade level, how many staff positions have been cut by role and by building. From a homeowner's point of view, this matters because when staff and programs shrink faster than enrollment, the experience inside those schools changes, and eventually buyers notice. Question two: how much of the problem is state and federal funding versus local decisions? District leaders point to revenue caps, underfunded mandates, and the end of federal relief money. Local boards still decide how many programs to run, how many buildings to keep open, and how much of the cost to shift to families through fees. For example, if revenue limits had tracked inflation and if state and federal aid covered more of transportation and special education, some of these gaps might be smaller. At the same time, districts choose how many electives to offer, how many staff to employ in each department, and which services to prioritize. The question for us as a community is: how much of the current budget stress would disappear if state rules changed? And how much reflects local choices that could be adjusted even under the current system? Clear numbers on that split would help voters and homeowners understand where pressure is really coming from. Question three: what will students actually experience in the next 2 to 3 years? For families and for anyone thinking about buying or selling a home in Heartland, this is where the rubber meets the road. We already know Lake Country has reduced four professional staff and two support roles, including its band teacher. Arrowhead is not renewing multiple teaching contracts to balance a $1 million gap. Research on schools and housing markets is pretty consistent. When class sizes grow, programs like music, advanced courses, and supports are cut back, and uncertainty about future referendums increases, families start to factor that into where they move and how much they're willing to pay. So the practical questions are: what will average class sizes look like in Heartland Lakeside, Lake Country, and Arrowhead over the next few years? Which courses and programs are being reduced? Which are staying and which are growing? And how will counselor, special education, and aid to student ratios change under the new budgets? Those answers would tell a buyer what kind of school experience their kids will actually have, and they signal to current owners how their neighborhood might look 5 or 10 years from now. I am not telling you what to think about referendums or school politics. My role as someone who lives and works in this market is to pay attention when the fundamentals that drive demand start to shift. If you'd like to see more breakdowns like this, connecting local schools, taxes, and the Heartland housing market, hit subscribe, click like so more neighbors see this, and drop your questions in the comments. I am Dan Kallas, Kallas Real Estate with Keller Williams, serving Waukesha and Milwaukee counties. If you're thinking about making a move and you want to understand how these school changes might affect your home's value, you can always reach out. Thanks for watching.